in Calgary and across the land. And the reason we are here is to announce the Canadian Sovereignty Act and to make a call to action. A conservative government would have acted more quickly to protect the sovereignty of our country. Under the Liberal government, that sovereignty has been eroded by policies that block our development, tax our people, and make us uncompetitive. The Canadian Sovereignty Act would move us in the opposite direction. It seeks to legalize economic development, reward those who build, protect Canadian innovation, and get shovels in the ground on major nation-building projects between now and March the 14th, the one-year anniversary of Mark Carney taking office. The problem, of course, is that Donald Trump has imposed unjustified and unjustifiable tariffs on our economy and our people. Now, Mark Carney promised that he would handle Donald Trump.
Mark Carney
That's
is a
quote.
fucking retard. You can't handle
He said
it.
that he would negotiate a win with Donald Trump. He said that the deal would be done by
Pierre
July the 21st, and then he said it would be done by August the 1st. Those promises were not kept. The tariffs have actually doubled since Mark Carney became Prime Minister, promising that he would get results. The promises have not been kept, and meanwhile, Canada's economy gets weaker. The deficit is now bigger under Carney than it was under Trudeau. Inflation is rising, home building is falling. Tens of billions of dollars of net investment have left Canada since he took office. Not a single major pipeline or natural gas facility, a new one, has been identified for approval by the Carney government, and we're going in the exact wrong direction. In fact, there are 9 major energy projects right now mining projects that are waiting for federal approval, many of them backed by Indigenous people. It now takes 18 years to get a mine approved in Canada. The Liberal government has killed $670 billion of resource projects. 16 major projects are dead. Their emissions cap is going to kill, according to the parliamentary budget officer, 54,000 jobs that will vaporize $20.5 billion of GDP. And these are all self-imposed, self-inflicted attacks by the Liberal government on our economy. On housing, Mr. Carney promised the fastest and biggest buildup of housing since the Second World War, that he would double home building. Since that time, home building has actually gone down in Canada, and according to his own housing agency, it will fall next year, and the year after that, it will not even be half of the 500,000 annual builds that he has promised. So far, he's still trying to set up a new bureaucracy with an awkwardly named Build Canada Homes, because he hasn't even set up the office. He hasn't built an office or built the bureaucracy yet, let alone built a single home. We need to get building now. And that's why the Conservative proposal for a Sovereignty Act will take action immediately. In this fall, we will introduce a motion calling on the government to put forward this legislation. The Sovereignty Act will legalize pipeline and other major projects by repealing the anti-development law C-69. It will legalize shipping Canadian energy off the northwest coast of BC by repealing C-48. It will axe the industrial carbon tax, something the Europeans are doing, and given that our competitors in America have no industrial carbon tax, it is untenable to force our people and our industries to pay this tax. We will get rid of the oil and gas cap that kills jobs. We will get rid of the ban on plastics, the petrochemical industry that produces our plastics. The plastics themselves are essential, and so are the jobs that go along with it. This, by the way, this plastics ban is not about, it's just saving your straw. It's about saving you about $400 or $500 a year in food that would otherwise go bad because it would not have plastic to preserve it. And we have a wonderful Alberta-based petrochemical sector that contributes to plastics that we need to protect. We'll get rid of liberal censorship laws that prevent our energy companies from talking about their incredible achievements and their environmental stewardship. We will legalize, into the future, your right to drive a gas or diesel-powered truck or car by repealing the liberal EV mandate. All of this will be in one bill. Next, we're going to reward those who build. We'll get rid of the capital gains tax when you reinvest your proceeds here in Canada. This will cause a boom in Canadian investment. Here in Canada, we get about half the investment per worker as they do in the United States of America. We get about 15 grand of investment per worker in Canada. In the States, it's 28 grand, both measured in US dollars. No wonder that the American economy is leaving us behind. We need to reward investment by letting people who sell one asset and reinvest the money in Canada do so without capital gains tax. We will give free trade bonuses to the provinces, paying them the economic benefit that results from them opening their markets to fellow Canadians. We'll protect innovation by requiring in this law that the minister do a review and present a plan to stop the mass sell-off of Canadian inventions, discoveries, and innovations. We pay for all these incredible technological breakthroughs in Canada, often with tax dollars that subsidize it at university research and elsewhere, and then it's sold off to the Americans. And we become dependent on them for the technology that we ourselves invented. Finally, outside of the bill, we are making a call to action. Today, Conservatives are calling on Prime Minister Carney to have pipeline construction underway for at least 2 projects and to have at least 1 new natural gas liquefaction project and a road to the Ring of Fire in Ontario under construction by the first anniversary of him taking office. The Prime Minister can and must do this, and he can do it by consulting First Nations as required under Section 35 of the Constitution. Now, you might say, this is too ambitious. How could you possibly get a pipeline under construction in mere months? Well, he's been in office already since last March, and he said, and I quote, we need to think big and act bigger. We need to do things previously thought impossible at speeds we haven't seen in generations. I couldn't agree more. That doesn't happen through meetings, through plans and speeches and forums and press releases. It happens through action. We need shovels in the ground, and we need deadlines to make those shovels dig and get things done. This is a test of leadership. Now is a time for action. We're calling on the Prime Minister to live up to his words and the very boastful promises that he made during the election. We do this because we want to put our country first. We want Canada to be truly economically self-sufficient and sovereign, and we want this to be once again a country where hard work earns a powerful paycheck that gives people a great life and an affordable home on a safe street. That was the Canadian promise that the country made me when I was growing up here in Calgary, Alberta, about 10 or 15 minutes from where we are right now. And I want that promise for every single Canadian. That is our purpose. This is our plan. Let's get it done. Thank you very much.
Thank you. We'll now take questions from the floor.
Oh, you're holding it. G'day, Emma Graney with the Globe and Mail.
Thank you.
Question here, when you're talking about getting pipelines built, there are no projects being proposed right now. There's none on the table. BC has already said, hey, we don't really want a new oil pipeline. How do you overcome those kinds of hurdles? And just on the tariff question, which counter tariffs do you reckon should be removed?
Thank you very much. I think there's 3 questions there. Yeah. First 2, that's okay. It was well executed, a hat trick. Let's start with the chicken and egg problem. So this is, the opponents of pipelines are using this very cleverly. They're saying, well, we can't change the rules to allow a pipeline because there's no pipeline proposed. That's because the rules don't allow pipelines to get built. So you have, for example, C-69 that, according to the Pipeline Association, means you'll never get one approved. Then you have the energy cap, which means that Alberta will never be able to produce enough oil to put in a new pipeline. And then you have the shipping ban that prevents that oil from going anywhere. And then, you know, the NDP and Liberals say, well, nobody wants to build a pipeline, so we can't approve one. Well, of course, nobody wants to build anything in Canada because the law makes it impossible. So that's why the Canadian Sovereignty Act will legalize building pipelines, producing energy, and putting it on ships. And when you do that, you will have pipeline construction like you do all around the world. I'm just looking at these incredible projects that have been done in other countries around the world. You've got the Eemshaven LNG terminal in Netherlands. It went from plan to completion in 6 months. The gas grid LNG terminal in Finland, agreement signed in May of 2022, started construction in August 2022. That's 2 months later. The Wilhelmshaven, Germany project that was announced, this is an import terminal for LNG, announced in March 2022, completed in December 2022. This is how things get done everywhere else in the world. Here in Canada, nothing gets done because Liberals ban things from getting done. We're proposing to legalize fast energy production, construction, and exportation, and that is why we need this bill. So we can do it. Let's get rid of this chicken and egg distraction that the Liberals have imposed. As for Mr. Eby opposing him, I, with the greatest respect, I have nothing against him personally. I think he's a nice guy, but one man can't block a project. British Columbians want a pipeline, Albertans want a pipeline, Canadians want a pipeline. We can't wait till everybody's on side. I mean, you know, there's some people out there who don't think Elvis is dead. We can't get everybody to agree on any basic fact, even the basic fact that we need a pipeline. So you're going to need national leadership, and yeah, that means that some people are going to protest, maybe chain themselves to a tree, but we have to push through that if we're ever going to get anything done. As for the tariffs, the counter tariffs should be, as I said, and I think Mr. Carney has copied my language on this, we need to narrowly target our counter tariffs at things that maximize the impact on the Americans while minimizing impact on Canadians, to put the pressure on our American counterparts to remove the tariffs so that we can restore a true free trading relationship with them once again. Thank you.
I'll say.
Oh, geez. Everybody here is going to be, they just had to suffer through my very lengthy answer, but I'll do it. Je vais le faire en français. Encore, le numéro 1, on dit qu'on ne peut pas bâtir il n'y a pas d'entreprise qui propose des pipelines au Canada. Puis, c'est vrai. C'est parce que les lois interdisent les projets de pipelines. Donc, si on interdit les projets, il ne va pas y avoir des entreprises qui proposent ces projets. Le projet de loi pour la souveraineté canadienne, ça propose de légaliser la production, la construction et la transportation de nos produits énergétiques. Et quand on adopte cette loi, on va permettre les entreprises de bâtir, de les bâtir. Deuxièmement, Madame la journaliste m'a demandé, c'est quoi was the second question again? Sorry, the province, good. Monsieur Eby, le Premier ministre, n'est pas d'accord avec un pipeline. C'est la vie. On ne peut pas plaire à tout le monde. Il faut bâtir des choses même s'il y a certains politiciens qui ne veulent pas. C'est une décision fédérale. Troisièmement, on devrait cibler les tarifs, les contre-tarifs aux produits qui vont avoir le plus grand impact au sud des États-Unis, aux États-Unis, et l'impact minimal ici au Canada, afin de mettre une pression sur nos amis américains de rétablir le libre-échange. Merci beaucoup.
Thank you. Next question.
Heather Yerkes-West with Global National. Thanks for taking my question. I just wanted to ask how you're feeling heading into the by-election and introducing the Canadian Sovereignty Act today. How often are you encountering Alberta separatism sentiment through the campaign, and what have those conversations been like?
Well, I'm loving the campaign. I'm having a lot of fun, actually. I love the people of Battle River Crowfoot. They're the people who feed power and protect our country, feed through the great ranchers and farmers, power through the incredible oil and gas industry, most of all the Hardisty tank farm, which moves $90 billion of energy products. That's more than the GDP of many countries, and this is a town of about 600 people. And of course, it protects our country with the people, the great men and women who serve at CFB Wainwright. So I'm having a lot of fun. I'm meeting a lot of people who are very angry about the way that the federal government has abused and mistreated Alberta. And what they're saying is the era of pay up and shut up has got to come to an end. Alberta deserves a better deal within Canada. And one of the ways we make that happen, one of the ways we unite our country, is to produce our resources. The oil and gas workers who are suffering, living in very tough conditions right now because there's just not enough work, despite the global oil boom, all they want is to get a job where they can go and make the whole country richer. So, you know, I met a guy the other day. He's an oil and gas worker. He was doing very well up until about 10 years ago. Now he's got to split a mobile home with a friend. He's in his 40s or 50s, and he can't afford his own place. And it's because there's just not enough work. All of this is the direct result of the federal government banning oil and gas production through C-69, C-48, the energy cap, the industrial carbon tax, and we could go on and on and on. If you unlock the power of the energy sector to make all Canadians richer, I can tell you Albertans will be more than happy to continue to contribute to this country, and it will be the greatest thing we could do to unite all Canadians. Thank you.
Thank you. Next question.
Rick Bell, Post Media.
Hi, Rick.
Hi. Welcome back. Just this week, the Smith government has said the clock is ticking. A few weeks ago, Premier Smith said her expectation was to hear some indication by around September 15th of what the federal government plans to do with regards to the so-called 9 bad laws, emissions cap, etc. 2 days ago, the Environment Minister, Rebecca Schultz, said he doesn't have to wait for Parliament to remove the to not put in the emissions cap. He could announce it at a podium today. That hasn't happened. So my question is essentially, I know you're going to have to peer into the mind of Mark Carney here, but what's going on? Why do you believe they are not coming out and giving an indication of what might happen? Why aren't they standing up and saying we're looking at not bringing in the emissions cap, or we're looking at doing something about the No More Pipelines law? Why do you think, what's going on there? Why do you think the federal government is not dealing at all in any way with this issue?
Well, first of all, let's talk about Mark Carney and then the Liberal Party. Mark Carney for the last 10 years, was a net zero, keep it in the ground, green fanatic. He said that he wanted to keep at least half of our oil in the ground. And he believed he's testified against the Northern Gateway Pipeline. He supported all of the carbon taxes. He's publicly spoken out in favor of the electric vehicle mandate to ban your gas and diesel-powered cars. Now, he's tried to present himself as some big change because he looks and sounds different than Justin Trudeau, but he has supported all of the same policies. And what he is doing right now is ragging the puck and trying to drag people along into believing that he will one day do something. But he hasn't done anything other than hold a lot of meetings and make a lot of bold statements.
Yeah, that's true.
C5 is better than nothing. But it won't do anything for the energy sector here unless you also get rid of the nasty 9 laws that Daniel Smith is asking us to end. Like I said earlier, you cannot build an oil pipeline, even if the pipeline itself were approved, if the government is capping the production to prevent oil from going into the pipe, or if the government continues to ban shipping the oil when it comes out of the pipe. So it's not enough to just pass one law that gives himself the power to cherry pick projects. What you actually have to do is get rid of the nasty 9 anti-development laws, and that's what the Canadian Sovereignty Act will do. It will legalize fast development of major projects in hydroelectricity, oil, gas, nuclear, and more, so that we can become self-sufficient and sovereign. Thank you.
Thank you. Next question.
Good morning, Josh McLean, CBC News. If you don't mind responding in English and French, please.
Yes, sir.
Should Canada continue to remove some counter tariffs on American products, and how would you get a deal that didn't include tariffs?
Well, before I talk about our position, I just remind you that Mark Carney has broken his promise on this. He said that he would do dollar-for-dollar tariffs during the election while he was simultaneously lifting those tariffs, and he has made concession after concession to President Trump. He's been bending over backwards for the president and so far has gotten nothing in return. We think that the counter tariff should be narrowly targeted on the things that will have the most impact on the Americans and the least impact on Canadians. That we do this by targeting things that we don't need, can make ourselves, or can buy elsewhere. That will allow us a minimal opportunity cost in seeking the products from other places, while increasing the political pressure on the Americans to get a deal that will allow Canada to have unfettered access to the American market.
En français.
Ah oui. Merci beaucoup. Monsieur Carney a promis dollar pour dollar dans les élections lorsqu'il était en train d'éliminer ces tarifs. Il a fait une concession après l'autre à Donald Trump afin de plaire au président. Il n'a pas eu une seule victoire de l'autre direction. Nous, les conservateurs, proposons des tarifs, des contre-tarifs qui sont très bien ciblés aux produits qui vont maximiser l'impact sur les Américains lorsqu'on minimise les impacts sur les Canadiens. On doit choisir des produits qu'on peut produire nous-mêmes, acheter ailleurs ou dont on n'a pas vraiment besoin afin d'accomplir ce but. Merci beaucoup.
Next question.
Annie Véro, Radio-Canada.
Oui, bonjour.
C'est possible de répondre en français et en anglais aussi,
Oui.
s'il vous plaît. Par rapport à l'élection partielle du 18 août, vous avez critiqué les actions du Longest Ballot Committee qui ont présenté plus de 200 candidats. J'aimerais savoir pourquoi vous n'avez pas aussi critiqué le groupe dans le passé quand ils ont fait la même chose dans Toronto-Saint-Paul ou encore à La Salle et Mont-Verdun.
Honnêtement, je n'étais pas vraiment au courant de ce processus à ce temps-là. Ils m'ont ciblé dans 2 comtés différents maintenant. C'est bizarre. On ne sait pas pourquoi. Je pense que j'étais le seul chef ciblé dans les élections passées. Mais moi, je crois que n'importe qui devrait pouvoir se présenter s'ils veulent vraiment faire partie de la démocratie. Mais les fausses candidats qui ne visent même pas à gagner et qui font même pas la campagne ne devraient pas pouvoir inonder le scrutin en ajoutant 200 noms. Il y a une solution qui est très simple, c'est d'obliger les gens, chaque candidat, d'avoir leur propre signature unique afin de montrer l'appui qu'ils ont personnellement et d'avoir leur propre agent financier. C'est comme ça qu'on va pouvoir éliminer cette approche qui, moi je crois, qui est irresponsable. Okay, thank you. You want it in English? Okay. Look, I didn't know a lot about this longest ballot thing when it was happening. I don't think it happened very much, but it happened some years ago in some other riding. But they've targeted me in 2 different ridings now. And the reality is I don't have a problem with anyone who wants to run for office, even if they're not known or not wealthy. They should be able to put their name on the ballot if they truly want to run. But that's not what these people are doing. They're adding their names even though they're not campaigning. They don't expect to win. They just want to inundate the ballot to confuse the situation, make it harder for people to vote, people with vision problems, the elderly, others who have difficulty are going to have a harder time voting, and it shouldn't be allowed. The simple solution is just say that if you want to be a candidate, you have to get, several hundred signatures of your own. You can't just use the same 100 or 200 signatures for all the candidates. And every candidate should have their own financial agent. If you did that, this interest group would not be able to pull off this stunt and this scam. And so that's why we're proposing to change the law to make sure that this longest ballot stunt never happens again. Thank you.
Thank you. This will be the final question.
Thanks for taking my question, Keane, with Juno News. I'd like to ask about immigration.
Yes.
Nigel Farage in the United Kingdom has been quite popular recently. He might even be Prime Minister for election himself today with his plan to deport illegal migrants across the Channel. Donald Trump, same thing. He just launched a father-son recruitment campaign for ICE. It seems like the entire Western world, including the Liberals, have realized that out-of-control immigration is a problem, but Canada's the only country without a solution to fix it. And you don't have sovereignty without control of the borders, so I'm wondering what your plan is to fix it and get illegal migrants out of this country.
Doesn't know how to fix anything.
Thank you. Well, anyone who has been deemed inadmissible needs to leave, and they need to be deported.
I'm right.
Anyone who commits a crime while they're in Canada, they need to be immediately detained, and when their detention is complete, they need to be deported from the country.
Just deport.
We need to track down the roughly 600 criminals that the Liberals have lost track of. That means using all our security agencies to find out where they are, to locate them, arrest them, put them on planes, get them out of Canada. We need to make it clear that anyone who commits a hate crime or an act of violence against an identifiable group should be, that is not a citizen and not a permanent resident, needs to be deported from this country. We need to get rid of the incentives for people to come here that are not real refugees. So we need a review of all the benefits that go to people who come as asylum claimants to make sure they're not getting more benefits than Canadian taxpayers get. And those that arrive last should be their cases should be treated first so that they know that they'll be leaving quickly. That will get the message back to the country of origin that if you come to Canada and you're not a real refugee, your case will be heard in a few weeks and you'll be back in your own country. That would, right now, there's the opposite incentive. People who are not real refugees come into Canada and they say, well, even if I'm rejected, I'll have 7 or 8 years of appeal, during which time they get all kinds of benefits. If we was very clear that the benefits wouldn't be there, that they would be sent back within a couple of weeks, they wouldn't come in the first place. We need to secure our borders to stop the crossings. And more broadly on immigration, we need to bring way down the numbers of international students, of temporary foreign workers, that are flooding our markets with low-wage labor. The big corporations love it because they can drive down wages for Canadian youth who are facing unprecedented unemployment. The temporary foreign worker program was not meant to drive down wages. It was meant to fill jobs that Canadians could not or would not do, particularly in agriculture. Now it's just become a full-purpose thing that Starbucks or anyone else can use to drive wages down. If they're having a hard time getting Canadian youth working, what they need to do is raise wages. So we need to cut back on the temporary foreign worker program. And finally, the overall number needs to go down. Over the next several years, we actually need more people leaving than coming. That's net negative migration. And so that's what I said. We've got these millions of people whose visas are going to come up. When their visas run out, they're not eligible to stay. They need to be told to leave, and if they don't leave, then obviously they need to be deported, and that will allow us our housing, healthcare, and jobs to catch up with the number of people in our country. Thank you.
Like and subscribe.
Thank you. That concludes this.
All right.